Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben.
And I'm Hector.
How are you, Hector?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. You're looking very dapper.
I try sometimes. once in a great while.
Well, my best buddy, Ollie, he was the best man at my wedding, and I've known him since he was 13. He's come to visit me, so I'm very happy.
Nice. He's in the control room there with Justin, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The poor fella just got off the plane, and I dragged him to my place of work.
Shout out to Ollie.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so Ben, if you're listening to this one, it's your turn next to come and witness a taping of the podcast. Well, so we've got Sumer Gill with us today. How's it going, Summer?
Hey, good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever met, have we? I think I just know you from... Oh, you said 2014 you came to...
2014 or 15, I saw you from about 500 feet away.
Yeah.
We did not interact at all. Yeah. So, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
It's a safe distance for Ben, so that's fine.
There you go. Yeah, one of the things I love about doing this is I do get to meet people who I kind of always already feel like I know because, we're all talking the same threads on the line and stuff like that about different stuff, and we all know a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
So it's just nice to meet you, and thanks for coming. This is badass.
Yeah, I feel like I see all of these people on social media. I'm like, I sort of know who you are. Like, you're a lot taller than I thought you were.
He gets that a lot.
I know. Yeah.
He gets that a lot.
I know, which makes me wonder what people think I look like. You know what I mean? This little dude.
Well, you're playing Irish music. They think you're a little leprechaun.
Oh, I wouldn't mind being a little leprechaun.
It'd
be easier on planes.
Yeah.
So what we do on here is we just get a little bit of an idea of people's musical journey and ask you some broad questions. And the first one is, why did you start playing music, and how did that all come about? Like, how old were you, and what was the environment when you were young relating to music?
Yeah. So I guess I didn't really ever have a choice.
Right.
By that, I don't mean like I was forced into it, but so my grandmother on my dad's side was a piano teacher and an accompanist, and she was in choirs her entire life. And then my dad and my uncle both ended up being musicians. Like, neither one of them can read music at all or play a lick of piano, but they've made their livings in music for most of their lives. And so when I was about 7, my parents asked if I, would want to take piano lessons. And so I said, because I was 7 and I didn't really have many opinions. So I was just like, yeah, sure. Sounds like a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of always sung around the house, and music had always been in the family, so I would sing along, and I grew up going to my dad's gigs. So,
that's huge, actually.
Yeah. So I did classical training for about 7 years, like 7 to 13 or 14-ish.
Yeah.
But when I was 10, I decided that I wanted to do my 5th grade talent show, and I told my dad that, and I was too scared to sing in front of anybody before. Right. So I went up to him, and he was just like, great, you want to do the talent show? What's your talent? I was like, well, I want to sing. So I sang to a karaoke track, and my knees were shaking the entire time, but it was great. Like, I got a standing ovation and a McDonald's coupon out of it.
That's nice.
And from then on, my dad started, because he was still kind of doing gigs. I mean, he was working as a teacher at the time, full time, but still doing gigs on the side. And so he learned a few songs that I knew on the guitar, and then I would learn some songs with him, and then we started doing our duo. And that was my job from middle school on, was like pretty much every weekend, middle school and high school, we were playing gigs together.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and then I started doing it full time once I graduated college in 2016.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's such a... I don't know if we've had anyone on here, maybe a couple of people, but it's pretty unique that you grew up through it, literally, like an apprenticeship almost.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. What kind of music were you and your dad playing together?
So I grew up on a lot of like Beatles and Simon and Garfunkel and Motown type stuff was and a lot of Elton John. I exist due to Elton John.
Right.
My parents actually met because my dad was playing "I Need You to Turn To" at a bar in Alabama at like 3:00 in the morning, and my mom was like, "I got to talk to that guy." That was 40 years ago, so it was a lot of that kind of stuff, and then so it was. He would teach me, the older stuff, and then I would teach him the newer stuff. But it was a lot of singer-songwriter kind of things.
Are you Florida born and raised?
Florida raised, not Florida born.
Right.
I was born in the British Virgin Islands.
Okay.
And so I was born in Tortola, and we lived there until I was 3, and then we moved back.
So is your dad, with his music, did he travel a lot with that? Then?
Yeah, he started doing it, I guess, when he was about 19 is when he started gigging.
Right.
And that was in Virginia Beach. He's from Michigan originally, but the family had moved to Virginia, and so he started out there and then went to college in Virginia. Then he went to college a bunch of different places.
Right.
But then went down to South Carolina, so he played there. And then when he moved to Alabama, he was playing there, which is where he met my mom.
Right.
And then he ended up getting a job in Miami after he got his master's in Alabama. And so he had a residency type thing at this pub in Miami and would play around Miami while he was, doing his other biology job.
Right.
But then from there, they moved to Peru, and he didn't really play out in Peru because they were in a tiny fishing village. Sure. But when they came back, he played more in Miami, and then when they were cruising on their sailboat, he would play in the Bahamas and the BVI and stuff. So yeah, he's definitely traveled around a lot.
That's neat, and I think it's interesting as well that. Both you and your dad finished college, did college, and then chose to do music like this as a career, just for the love of it, basically, not out of necessity.
Right,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Which I think is cool. What did you study at university?
I did media communication studies,
right?
And I loved FSU. Yeah. I loved the campus and the teachers and stuff there. I hated Tallahassee.
Right.
I couldn't stand being there. So I did it really quickly because when I got there, I was already pretty established down here, doing gigs even as a high school senior.
Yeah.
I had a lot of connections, and I was kind of I already have a job, but I want to have college as a degree for a backup.
Yeah. It does wonders for your just kind of self-respect too, you know what I mean? Just to know you can do it.
Yeah, and honestly, just for the experience of it, it was nice to be there. But yeah, I did my first year and a half or something, and with the major that I had, I remember once I got accepted into the School of Communications, going down the paper that they give you to check off all the classes that you have to take, and I checked all of them off, and they were you only have to take 3 more classes, and I was peace.
Right, yeah.
I'm out. They're how did you do this? And I was I don't know, I just signed up for all of these classes beforehand. Nobody stopped me. So yeah, I did it in 2.5 years.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Damn, that's awesome.
Saved a lot of money too. I don't have any student loans.
Wow,
so
that's cool.
That's really nice.
Yeah, I did a degree. I did a music degree, and I'm glad I did it. Like you said, the experience, just the fun of it, and moving to a new city.
Yeah.
I did a lot of growing up because
absolutely.
it's 18, 19, just sort of figuring out who I was. I went to a boarding school prior to that, so I really was I had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
So going to university was pretty essential to
Yeah.
a couple of years just figuring that out.
Right.
Yeah. So when it comes to writing your own music, what would you say are some musical influences that you have in that respect?
My first one that I can think of is probably KT Tunstall.
Right. Yeah.
And that was the 5th grade talent show that I was talking about. The song that I did was Other Side of the World by her. And that was the first album that I really remember listening to all the way through just on repeat, and every song I was just like, this is what I want to do. Like this, each song meant something to me, even as young as I was. But yeah, I would say KT Tunstall, and then later on in high school, Ellie Goulding.
Right,
really did it for me. I think my parents thought there was like something wrong with me, because when I was 16, for about 6 months, I just played her album Halcyon just on constant repeat all the time. Yeah. I'm sure they were really tired of hearing it, but that, and then Ben Howard is probably like my top songwriting influence of all time. Not that I don't really write songs the same way that he does, or like try and emulate him or anything, but just like, I think my goal a lot of times is, with whatever I write, to make people feel the way that his songs have made me feel.
Right on.
Yeah. And kind of like the way that he does his poetic license and everything. Yeah.
So do you have a process when it comes to writing?
I wish I did.
Right.
I feel like I'd be a lot more disciplined if I did. But no, I usually, there have been a few times where I've sat down and been like, okay, I'm going to write a song. And it's usually when I'm like collaborating with somebody. It's like, okay, I have, this set of chords, or this instrumental track that I'm going to write to. But generally, if I'm just writing by myself, it has to sort of, for lack of a better term, just sort of come out of thin air. Like a melody will come to me, or a phrase, or even sometimes it's just a word that I just latch on to, and I'm like, I want to use that in a song.
Yeah.
I feel like this word is pretty, and I feel like people need to hear it sung.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll try and sort of form something around it. But I definitely am like lyrics, melody first, and then I'll figure out the instrumentals after. And that's definitely where my being a singer first comes in, rather than instrumentalist, because I kind of gave up the classical piano thing because I didn't really care about it. I just wanted to like supplement my voice.
Well, when you get to a certain point with classical training, it's like you either go into overdrive and like play 7 hours a day and just focus on that and that alone, or you don't.
Right.
You know
like
what I mean?
I feel like you either have to have a deep love for it, or just like insane discipline. Yeah. And I didn't have either one of those things. I was like, I'm already good at singing, and I like the singing.
Right.
Like I don't really feel like spending any more time learning for a lead.
Yeah, fair enough. Did you ever have any singing lessons?
So I did choir for, I guess, 9 years, and then when I gave up the classical piano, it was because I went to a different piano teacher, and he was kind of teaching me how to adapt songs so that I could play and sing at the same time. And he was kind of also a vocal coach. Yeah. He did more of just like song adaptation for me, I think, that more so than vocal coaching. But my high school choir teacher did a lot of vocal coaching with us. Not necessarily one-on-one, but I got a lot from that.
That's where I learned to sing too.
Yeah.
In choirs at school. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thankfully it came sort of naturally, so I didn't. It was more like tweaking things rather than having to really like learn how to form notes.
Sure.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I've found as I'm getting older, I've got a singing teacher again now, because it's. Whereas it used to come naturally, now I do have to do things like warm-ups and stuff. Yeah. So, if I could give you any advice from an old fart, it would be look after it, because you take it for granted, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I actually have been thinking about that, like, because at this point now it's been, I guess, 6 years, and I do average about 5 or 6 gigs a week, and I can feel when it's getting tired. Yeah. When and I can also tell, like, I can't necessarily push it as hard as I used to. Yeah. But I also, some of that is like just not wanting to.
For sure. Yeah, I relate to
And
that.
just like, so, you pick and choose the gigs where you try harder.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I definitely have been thinking about sort of going back and just, relearning some things with a vocal coach.
For sure. One of the things that my vocal coach told me is that when you're not singing, just try not to talk like in the week as much as possible, which is literally impossible for me. I do a podcast for God's sake, so that's not happening. But that was what she was saying, is just rest it as much as possible, and that's really good for it. I'm
sure most people I know would agree that I'm constantly talking, whether they've asked me to or not.
So, do you enjoy playing out as much as you do? You still get a kick out of it?
Yeah. Yes and no. I am very lucky to be able to do what I do, and I do love what I do. But just for the sake of being completely honest, it wears on you after a while. And
that's why I asked.
Yeah. Especially after just so many in a row. And that's kind of what I'm saying, is like you pick and choose the gigs that you try harder at. Like sometimes it's like I'll show up and I'm like, oh, nobody here cares. So it's like I'm basically whisper singing the whole time. I'm like, I'm going to play all of you Regina Spektor deep cuts and nobody's going to care because you're not listening to me.
Been there.
But no, I do still love it. I would like to sort of cut back on it for a little bit maybe, and like I'm never gonna give it up entirely, but I would like to just sort of give myself a little bit of a break. Yeah.
I think writing, in terms of being creative with it, you can overplay if you're trying to be creative.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is play music if you've had 5 gigs in a week.
Right, and that's the thing, is like I don't ever want to get to a point where I resent it.
Yeah.
Because it is my first love, and it's what I've always naturally been drawn to and what I've always been good at. And I've tried to be good about giving myself a break every year.
Yeah.
Like I usually take about a month off every year and just go travel, and just like I don't even touch a piano or sing a note.
I noticed on
the
social media you went to the Virgin Islands, and it's interesting that you were born there. I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Yeah. So okay. I was there for 2 weeks last June. It had been a while. I had been back in 2018, but I hadn't been back since then. So it was really nice to get that break. And then I'm actually in like 5-ish days leaving for 6 weeks to go to Europe.
Oh yeah, cool. Where are you going?
I am going to Spain, France, Germany, sort of Switzerland for a couple days, and then back up to Germany, then Denmark, the Netherlands, and then flying back from London. We're spending the last week in London.
Neat. Ollie and I, when we were younger, we did that like 2 or 3 times. I love doing that. Just those Europe trips.
Yeah.
So much fun.
And it's so easy too with the trains. You
can
exactly. Just bop around
everywhere. This is pleasure. You're not playing or anything. Where you're
No. Everyone's been asking me. They're like, "Oh, you're going on tour," and I'm like, "No, I am. This is strictly pleasure."
Yeah, man.
No, that's good.
Like I'm tired.
Yeah, work-life balance it's a difficult thing to attain. Yeah, and I think in the US especially, everyone is really there's a lot of cachet put on working hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people base their whole kind of sense of self-worth on how hard they work.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that until it starts kind of affecting you, physically and mentally.
I feel like we're just having this conversation right before the podcast.
Yeah.
And I feel like also too with in our line of work, I mean, maybe I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but I also feel like a sense of guilt being tired with what I do, because I'm like, sometimes I have to step back and I'm like, I really only work 3-4 hours a day, but I also
It's
I have
emotionally taxing.
Yeah, and I have to factor in. I'm like, I have, there's the drive, there's the setup, there's the actual playing where I have to be on, and like I am the source of people's entertainment for these few hours. And then when people want to come up and talk to you and like tell you their entire life stories and just dump on you like what this one particular song that you played means to them, it's like, oh, I am now your therapist. Okay, gotcha. Like didn't sign up for that, but I definitely go through also just like feeling guilty that I'm not. I feel like I don't get to be tired because I don't have like the traditional 9 to 5 or something.
No, I hear that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things. It's the late nights too.
Yeah.
I start.
Yeah, that's the other thing is we start the day at like 8 p.m.
Right. Yeah. And that does start to take its toll after a while. These days, Killbillies doesn't play that many 10 to 2s. We do them every now and again, but it's mostly like, most of our gigs are ended by 11 these days, which is actually a blessing.
A lot of like 6 to 9s and 7 to 10s.
Oh.
Amazing.
5 to 8 is my bread and butter. I'm like, I can be in bed by 9. Amazing. On a Saturday, sign me up.
Yeah, I don't think I ever feel tired or like guilt for being tired. I think for me it's more just because of the family and everything, just feeling like they're all gone during the day, school and work and everything else, and I'm not necessarily gone, and then they get home and I leave and I go to the gigs, and it's usually like Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays, and like that's when they want to hang out and play and do stuff, and I'm not there, so that's where my guilt comes in.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like whenever people have invited me to do things in the last like 6 years, I'm like on a weekend.
Yeah.
No,
100%.
I don't get to.
In the brief periods in the last 10 years where I haven't been playing every weekend, I have no idea what to do with myself because I'm just so indoctrinated into it.
I know.
Like I can't remember what weekends are like without it.
Yeah, I know. Every once in a while I'll have like a Friday or Saturday night off, and I'm like, I go and sit at a bar somewhere and I'm just like holding my drink nervous. Like, is somebody going to make me do something? Like, do I have to sing a song? Like, what do I do?
We didn't play last Friday because he was playing in his other band, No Name Ska. He was playing down south. And I don't even know what time it was. It was like 8:30, quarter to 9 or something. And we're just sitting on the couch watching TV. My wife turns to me and she's like, aren't you supposed to be somewhere? Right. I'm like, no. And she's like, you're not playing tonight? Like, it was like this shock of, you're not playing tonight? I'm like, no.
Yeah. It's always so weird to me when I get to be part of the people on an actual weekend and not just like observing them from behind the keyboard.
I sometimes sort of think about that and like try and analyze it a little bit. It's like, why? Because I've never really particularly been that comfortable just hanging out in a bar. Mm-hmm. I would prefer to be doing something, even if it's working the door. Yeah. Like having a role in that situation. I enjoy just feeling kind of useful because otherwise I'm just sat there twiddling my thumbs. I've never really enjoyed that, and I think maybe that it's part of how I've ended up in the position I'm in doing this every weekend is because I think honestly I prefer it. I enjoy it. Yeah. I did go through a brief period of time. I was drinking too much and stuff. Well, I did start to resent it, but then I sorted that out. And now I'm back to just really loving it again. Mm-hmm. I couldn't really imagine doing anything else, honestly.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm excited partially for this trip I'm about to take is like I'll get a big long break. Yeah. And then I feel like I'll have enough time to miss it and come back and be like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get back into it and like have, more inspiration for life in general.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to your own music, is it all self-released at this point? Yeah. Yeah, and have you worked with anyone in terms of writing or in terms of sort of promoting it, or is it all just coming from you?
It's all been independent thus far. I've been working with I don't know if you've had them on here or not, or if you know them, but the Brian and Jeff from Raincat Recordings. Yeah. So I've been working with them. I met them when I was like 17. Right. And they're like older brothers to me, and we work really, really well together. So like I'll bring them a bare bones song that's just me and piano, and then both of them are just have that, producer mind, so I can tell them kind of a vague idea of what I want, but they also like speak my gibberish language of what I'm trying to explain to them, and they can make it happen. So everything that I've released has been with them thus far.
It's excellent. I've been listening to it, this week to kind of, just in anticipation of meeting you, and it's really, really very well recorded, and a lot of people swear by Raincat and love the place.
And especially, and it's been really cool too, just having been with them for so long. It's been like almost 10 years now, which saying out loud is scary. I didn't really think about that. But just seeing how much growth they've had, because when I started going to them, they were still recording out of like their little spare bedroom, and their vocal booth was like one of their closets in the back of their house.
Right.
And going to each studio that they've been at thus far, but they do a really, really, really good job.
Yeah, it's awesome. We need to go and check it out at some point. We're sort of due a recording at some point, and maybe we could go do some demos up there. Is it in Fort Pierce or Port St. Lucie?
No. It's Jensen Beach.
Jensen Beach.
Yeah,
oh, right.
So
it's right there.
Much closer. Yeah. It's about a 45, 50-minute drive from here.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I live in Tequesta, so it's like 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, even closer.
Yeah, cool. I should head up there and just introduce myself. Yeah. I only, we're all friends on Facebook and everything, but I've never met the guy, so I should head up there at some point. So, outside of your gigs, when you're at home, do you practice still?
I can say that real quick. I'm not proud of it, but I'm going to be honest with you. I do not touch my piano for the most part when I'm home.
So, you don't like sit down and try to work out like a new song or something? Or obviously you're writing, but I'm saying like even with the covers and stuff, you don't like sit down and try to work it out, or you just kind of wing it?
I do some. If I'm writing, then I will sit down at the piano. But when I'm working out a new song, honestly, in recent years, I've been kind of just learning them on the spot at gigs.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
Like people will come up to me and, they'll always ask, like, do you take requests? I'm like, I do if I know them.
Right, yeah.
And if I know the song but I don't know the chords, I always keep my phone on my keyboard, and I'll just Google the chords and sort of figure it out if someone's asked me for it. And if I like it, then I'll look it up the next night and just keep like looking at the chords each night that I'm playing until I have it memorized, and just sort of play around with it then. And especially if it's like a gig that there's not that many people at too.
Right, exactly. I do the same thing.
Yeah,
on those
I can
solo
just sort
gigs.
of mess around with it.
Yeah. A lot of the songs that I bring to the band, I've been playing in the solo gigs, and just figuring out like that. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like
there's people that come up to us at regular full band gigs even, and Ben's like, we can do it. And we're looking at it. James and I are looking at it, like, I've never even heard the song.
Right.
And Ben's like, oh, it's easy. Just follow me. Okay.
Right.
It is that kind of busker mentality, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. I'm the same way with that, like, I can figure things out pretty quickly, got a good ear for it. But, by the same token, you can get lazy with that sometimes too.
Yeah.
So, I think it's probably... you know what? Before we do that, do you have any? What's in store in terms of like? Have you got any future plans for like your music or anything like that?
I have a couple of things in the works at Raincat. I can't say like any sort of specific release date or anything because I have no idea.
Yeah.
But there's been a couple of things like that I wrote during quarantine and the apocalypse and all of that have kind of been on the back burner.
Kind of has been.
It's kind of been on the back burner. So I'm hoping to, when I get back, start focusing more on those and getting those more fleshed out and recorded and ready for release.
Cool.
Sure.
And just keeping on trucking with these gigs, going on vacation, coming back fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds awesome. All right. Well, let's hear some of these original numbers that you do then.
All right. Sounds good. Let's do it.
Time standing still these days, just one after the other. All the world seems to stop Life is a living haze, might as well add another, maybe or maybe not. But all I see is the memory of what it could have been, and it's killing me. Shooting star is a falling dream of all that I ever wanted. And now hindsight is a friend of mine, and she comes to me all the time, says, oh, it's better down the line with all that you ever wanted. I live in a fever dream, and I lost what it come to be. You know, the best but the worst for me, but it was all that I ever wanted. I sit back and watch the rain as it all falls together, following drop by drop. The high was worth the pain, to be too of a feather, then it all came to stop. But all I see is the memory of what it could have been, and it's killing me. Shooting star is a falling dream of all that I ever wanted. And now hindsight is a friend of mine, and she comes to me all the time, says, oh, it's better down the line with all that you ever wanted. I live in a fever dream, and I lost what it come to be. You know, the best but the worst for me, but it was all that I ever wanted. Oh, if karma's a bitch, then it's hope that kills you. Chasing the hit just to hope it fills you. Lost in the midst of a love that's see-through. If karma's a bitch, then it's hope that kills you. Chasing the hit just to hope it fills you. Lost in the midst of a love that's see-through. Karma's a bitch, then it's hope that kills you. Chasing the hit just to hope it fills you. Lost in the midst of a love that's see-through. But all that you ever wanted. And now hindsight is a friend of mine, and she comes to me all the time, says, oh, it's better down the line with all that you ever wanted. I live in a fever dream, and I lost what it come to be. You know, the best but the worst for me, but it was all that I ever wanted. And it was all that I ever wanted. Isn't it funny how we hold ourselves with fast cars and money? I hope you're doing well. It's a strange story for what we're supposed to do. Do this, do that, look right, look back, but all you have to lose. But I pay no mind, because I wasn't raised on Jesus. I didn't count my sins, and I hold my soul up pieces. Whatever world I'm living in, and I didn't breathe no Bible. I never said my prayers, and I'll find that soul revival. Whatever way I'm getting there. Are we the soldiers that live to fight the fight, or brighter and bolder? But how are we sleep at night? You ask what moves me. No, it's not that guiding light, it's just a strange story of all we have to do. Do this, do that, look right, look back, but all you have to lose. But I pay no mind, because I wasn't raised on Jesus. I didn't count my sins, and I hold my soul up pieces. Whatever world I'm living in, and I didn't ask forgiveness. I never begot you and will save you in the end. Oh, love is what begot you and will save you in the end. Oh, love is what begot you and will save you in the end. Oh, love is what begot you and will save you in the end. Oh, love is what begot you and will save you in the end. Oh, and love is what begot you and will save you in the end. And if you weren't raised on Jesus and you didn't count your sins, well, I hope your soul appeases whatever world you're living in. 'Cause I wasn't raised on Jesus, I didn't count my sins, and I hope my soul appeases whatever world I'm living in.
.561 Music is brought to you by Handlebars Bar and Grill, which is a biker bar in Sequester. It used to be called Judy's, and it's had a multitude of other names before that. It's been there for a really long time. It's part of the furniture in Sequester. If you head north on US 1 out of Jupiter, it's just going to appear on your right. It's a yellow building with a yellow sign that says Handlebars. And my father-in-law, Peter Pinello, reopened the place because it is just such a landmark and a fun spot for bikers to stop off at that he figured it was worth reopening it because it kind of slowed down a little bit, and Victor, the guy who was running it, was running out of steam a little bit, didn't want to do it anymore. So Peter, my father-in-law, reopened it, and we cleaned the place out, put a ton of work into the place, and the beer is cold and good there now, and Bernsey, who does the food, is doing a grand job, and it's a fun spot. You should come and check it out. If you come on a weekend, there's usually a ton of bikes out front, and just people hanging out outside, and the food's good. On the second Thursday of every month, there is a bike night, and on the fourth Sunday of every month, I do an open jam. The bike night on the second Thursday is from 6 to 9, and the open jam is from 4 to 7. And you should come hang out. If you want to come to the jam, it's a really easygoing one. So I set up a drum kit outside. A buddy of mine, Cody, brings his drum kit, and I set up a little PA, and whoever wants to play can just come and play. It's like, beginners to experts. If you want to just come and try something out, or if you've never played with anyone else before and you want to just come and experience being in a band, we'll all be there hanging out and playing music. And that is actually this Sunday, so swing by this Sunday and check it out.
Very cool. Our second sponsor is Backsaver LLC. And if you go to Backsaver, ask for Dr. Christopher White. He is going to take care of you. He's a board-certified chiropractor, is one of the best, if not the best, in Palm Beach County. We are fortunate enough that he has sponsored our 561 Music Festival, which is absolutely amazing that he's done that for us. He's a good friend. He's a great guy. If you've had an auto accident, a slip and fall, anything like that, go check out Backsaver. Look him up, backsaverllc.com, and talk to Dr. Christopher White. He'll hook you up.
Cool. And this episode is also brought to you by Oasis Root Kava Bar, which is a cool Kava bar on Indiantown Rd in Seagrape Square, which is 185 East Indiantown Road. And it's a great spot. Jim is a big lover of the arts, and that's why he wanted to help us out and sponsor the podcast. And, without sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do this. So we really, really appreciate it. And if you like Kava and Kratom, this place has the most high quality stuff you can get in the area. He gets it from a distributor that no one else gets it from. It's really, really good. And it's also just a chill place to go hang out. A lot of these places are a little bit like kind of mini clubs, they're sort of like UV and really dark in there and a bit weird. This place is just like a chill cafe. It's nice, bright and breezy, and there's just good conversation and everyone's friendly. So if you want to go to a really awesome Kava bar, or if you've never tried it, this is the perfect place to try it for the first time because it's a very high quality product. All right.
Yeah, and so that was it for the sponsors for the actual episode. But I also want to mention and give a big thank you to Easy Tees. Easy Tees is also an in-kind sponsor for the festival, supplying some T-shirts for us. I want to give a big shout out to Live Music Community, where we're sitting in right now. You know, Justin's always doing a lot for us and is helping us facilitate this podcast. And without that, we wouldn't have the festival. Basically, you know, wouldn't have led to the festival. So I want to thank him and give him a huge shout out. And then Harmony Management Group is who is also sponsoring the festival, and Mary does a lot of accounting and office things and stuff like that for a lot of the musicians we know. So if you need anything like that, give Mary a shout at Harmony. So
Yeah, should we talk a little bit about the festival while we're here?
Yeah, absolutely. It's happening April 2nd from noon to midnight. 20 bands for $10. You can't go wrong. I mean, you know, that's 50 cents a band, people. I mean, it's not bad at all. If you want to know the full lineup, we have Spread the Dub, Sierra Lane, Sons of a Tradesman, No Name Ska Band, Bryce Allen Band, Victoria Lee, Joey Caldereo, BFD, The Shake, Jake Walden Band, Sandman Sleeps, Fall Victim, Jacob Tacos, Micah Scott, Josh Miles, Dominic Delaney, Ben Childs, Alyssa Kuhn, Fox Maple, and Paper Carcass. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. So these are all past guests on our show. Hopefully this goes really well. It goes, very well received, and we'll do it again next year, and we will line up another 20 group of people that have been on the show over the course of the year. So
yeah, absolutely. And also, I think that there's a very, very high chance, assuming I didn't annoy him too much by not sorting it out in time, that Marlon Foster will be DJing at it as well. He's a good friend of the podcast and a great guy, and I think we're probably going to get him on it as well if he wants to.
Tickets are $10. You can get them in advance at 561musicfestival.com. I believe there's like a $1 service charge or something annoying like that, but it's not too much. And then we have a $25 ticket level, which is ticket and a pre-purchased T-shirt. So you get the T-shirt for a little bit less than you would at the door.
And a hug from James Galliano.
Yes, every ticket gets a hug from James Galliano. James, if you're listening, we love you, buddy. And we still have sponsorships available. So if at various levels, starting as low as $250 for the festival and as low as $25 for the podcast, depending on what level you're at. So if anybody's looking to sponsor the podcast, they want to get their name out there a little bit in the music community, or they want to sponsor the festival, now would be a good time, since the festival is creeping up on us very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to save Hector and I from an early grave of worrying about money, please get in touch and sponsor the podcast. We'd really appreciate it.
And LMC is doing another Give and Let Give.
That's right. Yeah.
When is that? Do we know when that is?
Yeah, it's March 4th.
Justin, do you know when that is?
Yeah, it's
March 4th? March 6th.
Oh, hang on. It's March 6th. That's right. Yeah.
All right. So we're doing another Give and Let Give here at Live Music Community. Ben and I will be here this time. I apologize I didn't make it last time, but we'll both be here this time. And it's a great event, and it's going to be basically, if you have any gear that you're not using or that you don't need, donate it to the school. And it's an event that is basically geared towards getting gear into the hands of kids that could use it. And, and they're going to put it to good use and learn on it, and et cetera. So it's going to be a really amazing event.
It went so well last time. There was a ton of stuff here, and it just flew out the door.
So many kids ended up with so much cool stuff. I mean, it was exciting.
If I was young and there was something like that, I would have loved it. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I just think it's a very positive thing, and getting instruments into the hands of people who are actually gonna use it.
Yeah,
because there's a bunch of us adults sitting on a huge pile of gear that we're never using.
Well, and it doesn't have to be instruments. I mean, music gear even. Last time I know there was like a PA here last time, and I think there's a mixer or a board or something back there somewhere.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff. So it's not just musical instruments; it's any music gear, period. And if you have something you don't necessarily need it, but you need something else, come check out what Justin's got here already, because it's also a swap. So if you have something and you want to swap it for something that he has that you need, but you have something you don't need and you want to swap it out so a kid can make use of what you don't need, then by all means, do that as well. But ideally, let's donate the stuff and let's let the kids use it. So,
hell yeah. Absolutely.
I have a keyboard stand that's been living in my car for 6 months now. If you guys want that.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
I do not need it.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we're talking about. That's great.
Yeah.
Could you give us a little bit of an idea about what the songs you sang to us were about?
Yeah, so the first one was about me losing my ever-loving mind.
Right.
And I wrote that, like, I think mid-quarantine in 2020, which I realize we're now 2 years away from that, but it still feels like just a long 2020.
It still feels like we're in it.
But yeah, it was, so that one's called All That I Ever Wanted. And it was, I guess the best way I can describe it was like trying, like kind of wallowing in self-pity, but kind of trying to see the silver lining about it, of like being focused on, everything that you lost and like all of the plans and stuff that fell through and like the relationships that you would have with people that you just no longer had. And then, but also like what's the one line? I know I wrote it, but, it's like, I lost what had come to be the best but the worst for me. Like, you think you wanted something, but, it was kind of taken away from you, and you're just trying to, like, get yourself into this mindset of, like, it's all going to be okay eventually.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what that one stemmed from, of just fake it till you make it, basically. Just
Right.
like, everything sucks right now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be better.
Right, yeah.
And hopefully there is something better on the other side of that. And then the other one is called Wasn't Raised on Jesus, which is pretty self-explanatory.
Sure.
That one was
I like that one. I've heard that one.
yeah,
before.
more about like my growing up experience, because like my parents are not religious at all. My mom was raised Catholic. She went to 12 years of Catholic school, so is now like a just staunch atheist.
Right, yeah.
as so many turn out to
Happened
be.
to
I
my
feel
dad,
like
yeah. My dad kind of came back a little bit, now, but yeah, that definitely had that effect on him,
like
for sure.
I have a lot of friends that have been through either Catholic school or just religious school in general, and they're just like, nope,
Yeah.
done,
That's me.
done with that.
That's me.
Yeah. So so I grew up with that, and then my grandmother was she was Catholic, but she wasn't technically allowed to be anymore because she was married 4 times.
Right.
But she became a born again Christian, and so she was very, very religious.
Right.
And that kind of, they butted heads a little bit about it. It was more like passive aggressive. But when I would spend the weekends at my grandmother's house, she would always, call me into the kitchen and try and read me her daily bread and start crying and, reading me Psalms from the Bible. And I was just like, I don't know what any of this means.
Right, yeah.
And she very much wanted me to be religious and wanted to convert me. And I was...
That's a surefire way to turn someone
right,
off.
exactly. I remember, I don't remember this experience exactly, but my mom tells me that there was one weekend she... had left me at my grandmother's house, and I went to church with her, and I loved church in the beginning because they would just like take the kids into a separate room and they'd show us Prince of Egypt and give us animal crackers and stuff, and I was like, God is good. And then when I got a little older and I would stay at her house, they'd send me to actual Sunday school and ask me questions, and I was like, I haven't read it. Like I didn't do the homework. I don't know what this is. But when I was about 5 or so, I guess my mom came to pick me up from a weekend at my grandma's, and she came to get me at the church, and there was a man just like writhing around on the floor, and my mom was really concerned about him, and she was like, is he okay? What's going on? And I totally deadpan just looked up at her and said, he's talking to God, and just walked out. And she was like, you can't come here anymore. So I had kind of all of those memories and stories in my head, and how how devout my grandmother was and how much she wanted me to find Jesus and like be saved and believe in a higher power and all of that stuff. And then whereas my parents have always just been like, like just be a good person.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of where that came from. I was just like, I don't have to have religion to be good, to just like be good to people and like be worthy of love or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, it was just kind of getting in my head about that, thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. A very interesting subject for a song.
Yeah.
And I love a song that has a good backstory.
Yeah.
I'm very into lyrics and meanings in songs, and that's a really good one. There. So do you have any, got any gigs coming up? Stupid question, really.
Yeah, I have 2 more this week before I run away to Europe for 6 weeks.
Oh, right. So it's coming up right soon.
Yeah. I'm leaving on Tuesday.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So, but I am playing at Island Route Kava in Jensen Beach on Friday, and then I'm pretty sure I'm playing in Fort Lauderdale on Saturday at Le Marché, which is at the Hilton Fort Lauderdale Beach.
Yeah, I do some of those Island Route gigs.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy them actually.
It's a cool little community there. I don't like Kava at all,
right, yeah.
but I like the Kava bars. Everyone's super nice there.
Yeah.
But if you're into Kava, I'm happy for you and your dirt water. But yeah, so those are my next 2, and then when I come back, I kind of hit the ground running again back in April when I get back.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good stuff. So what have we got going on then, Hector? We got on tomorrow, which is unfortunately when the podcast comes out, it will be over. We will have played at Propaganda.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're opening for the Super Suckers.
Yeah. So that should be fun. And then on Friday, so if you're listening to this, it's going to be in the evening of today. I'm playing at the Howlin' Rooster. That's going to be my first time there, playing there solo. And then on Saturday, we are playing at our spiritual home, Paddy Mac's, in Palm Beach Gardens from 9 to midnight. And if you've never seen Killbillies play, it is literally the best place to come and see us play.
Oh, absolutely.
We're part of the furniture in there. It just makes the music makes sense in there.
Yeah. We're just part of the place. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On a completely separate note, this weekend is the Lake Worth Street Painting Festival.
Oh, yeah.
So
cool.
I will be out there all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and I will probably come all nice and tan and sunburnt on Saturday night to the Paddy Mac's gig.
Maybe it's time to beat your Guinness World Record. For
That's
the biggest...
not going to happen this weekend. Not going to happen this weekend.
So it turns out, when we were off mic, Hector has a Guinness World Record for the largest street painting.
Okay, so
Just sprinkled that little
right that little
anecdote
so,
on
okay,
us.
so that piece of information is I have the record.
Yeah.
And then the record was beat less than a year later by a group of like Chinese artists or something.
So you don't have
and it
the
was
record
beat,
anymore.
And it was beat by something dumb like 3 feet.
Oh no!
This was like an over 400-foot megalodon.
All right,
dude.
so this is what you didn't say in the pre-podcast
I did say that earlier.
part.
And I wonder what classifies as a street painting, because could you just paint a straight line 400 feet long?
Well, okay, let me rephrase that. An anamorphic street painting.
Okay.
So 3D.
Gotcha.
Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Tell you what, though, having the second biggest one's still super impressive.
That's what she said. You had to know that was coming. So anyways, I am doing the Street Painting Festival in Lake Worth this weekend. I have a whole bunch of friends coming in town for the festival, a bunch of artist friends from all over the U.S., and I am going to try to wrangle as many as I can and bring to Paddy Mac. So we're going to have a good time Saturday night.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
nice
it should
one.
be good.
All right, and then, this Sunday, it's Handlebars, the open jam at Handlebars. So if anyone wants
Not
to come
by
and...
the Flowbots.
Not by the Flowbots.
Disappointingly.
So if anyone wants to come and play some music with me, you know where to find me. 4 to 7 at Handlebars Bar and Grill in Tequesta. And that's us. Thank you so much for coming, Summer.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah,
cool.
Awesome. See ya.
Everybody sing, it's what we're doing.